Hey there, multi-prep teachers. You know how professional development never seems to quite get to what we need? It's like, great idea, but how do I make this work when I have 3+ preps to juggle? That's exactly why I created the Simplify Your Preps Collective. It's a free Facebook group built just for teachers like you, where we share tips, resources, and real talk about making multi-prep teaching less overwhelming and more doable. Sound like your kind of space? Head to kristenmasick.com/collective and join us today. Let's simplify together. I wish I would have learned how to repurpose when it came to lesson planning when I was in college or student teaching, or quite honestly, anytime. Even if there would have been some workshop, even when I was like year 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 year of teaching about repurposing. The only thing that I can recall ever learning about repurposing was that, oh wait, you got to repeat your lesson from the year before. But it wasn't that you were repurposing as you were teaching. It was that just take notes on what went well, what didn't go well, and then you could reteach that. And reteaching is very different than repurposing. And that's just what we're going to be talking about today. Welcome to the Secondary Teacher Podcast, the podcast for middle and high school teachers juggling multiple preps to get the strategies to reduce overwhelm so that you don't have to choose between being an effective teacher and prioritizing important relationships. I'm your host, Kristen Masick, a 10-year high school engineering teacher, former middle school assistant principal, and teacher coach. Every week, we will discuss strategies, systems, and time-saving tips to help you not only survive but thrive as a multiple prep teacher. Preparing separate lessons for different classes not only feels like reinventing the wheel each time, it is reinventing the wheel. If you are not repurposing anything, you are having to come up with new things every single day, every single lesson, anytime you do something new. And a lot of times, I feel like it has been frowned upon, not explicitly, but when we're talking about teaching strategies, I have felt and heard it multiple times that you don't want to get students bored. You're not going to come up with the good, engaging activities if you have to come up with something new for every single class in every single lesson. Now, the beauty comes in when you find something that works, a strategy, a single strategy, and then you keep using it and using it and using it. Once you get comfortable with that, you can add something else because you have started repurposing. And so this is what we're going to be talking more about today. So repurposing is going to be essential for multi-prep teachers. That way you don't have to start from scratch every time you are preparing a lesson. You're going to realize that you have many concepts that overlap across subjects. And we're all content specialists when it comes to secondary. And so there are ways that we can really work on planning and just being strategic and taking bits and pieces out of one lesson to repurpose for another. Here is my first example. We're going to be adapting a lesson for different levels. If you have a beginning, an intermediate, and advanced level of a certain class, they are all different classes, but there could be some things within that can be repurposed. For example, I taught engineering. We always talked about the engineering design process. We always talked about safety, but yet my intermediate and my advanced students had already learned about the engineering design cycle, so I couldn't give them the exact same lesson. But I could have it geared toward a more intermediate student, allowing me to know what they had already learned. You can totally use AI. So you can ask AI to create several different lessons. You can take one core lesson in there and have it differentiate and make it for those different levels. Another way that I like to repurpose is to think about what is happening. Maybe you are using a strategy that requires you to rearrange your classroom in a certain way, or have certain materials, or have even gone to the store and purchased certain supplies. Utilizing that and making it so that you can use that all in the same day with a very minimal prep on you is going to be a game changer. If you have labs in your class, have all of your lab days on the same day. That way you're not having to switch from one to another, to even run to different spaces because you've got one class in here and then the next class you're using your classroom. That is going to be another way that you may not have thought about as an example of repurposing, but it is very much repurposing. Once again, you can have AI do the same thing, kind of brainstorm. Use it as your sounding board, as your teaching assistant, to get some ideas out. As you're looking at your unit plans, as you're looking at what's coming up, can you tweak things here and there to make it so that there is a little bit more opportunity for repurposing than if you were just to go in blindly and teach it as you had originally planned? So let's look at some tips for repurposing your lessons efficiently. One thing is to keep a repurposing. Find some adaptable lessons, or those lessons that you know there is a part of that lesson or a standard or something that is going to be within several different classes. There are going to be some core ideas, some core concepts that can transfer from one class to another class. Put that in your repurposing bank. Store it somewhere. Name it something easy so that you can find it. You can also use AI to simply reformat your lessons into different types of materials, slides, handouts, quizzes. Now, there are some better tools to use for that than maybe language based, but you can say, here, I just want to present this a little bit differently. And you can even do that if your students are having a hard time grasping the concept itself. If you're doing some formative assessment and you're realizing they don't have it, but you don't want to whip out the slide deck that you just gave yesterday, you would like to try something different. Ask AI to help you. Here's your content. The students aren't getting it. What can you do to repurpose what has already been done, what you worked really hard on? So as a recap, repurposing is such a smart strategy when it comes to reducing the amount of prep time and planning time across multiple preps and multiple subjects. Hopefully you left today with some practical tips on how you can take one lesson and apply it to multiple preps, and then also some tidbits on how you might be able to use AI to expedite the process. If this episode was helpful for you, it might be for others. Please share this with your teacher bestie, and you can always tag me at Kristen Masick, KHRISTENMASSIC. Until next week,